Mr. Gray, thank you. Miss Chelston Gray, part of the bakery organization. Thank you. Miss Kiko out in Japan. Thank you so much, young lady out in Japan. Wow. Oh, what happened here? What happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? Hold on a second. There we go. Out in Japan, thank you. Osaka, Japan, thank you so much. Been on here this morning. Miss Melissa Vaughn, it's good seeing you, dear. There's a wave. There you go. The great Miss Joyce Brewer has 100% attendance on all the calls. There she is. What a superstar. Mr. Vaughn Templeton out in Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you so much. Mr. Jordan Say out in Nashville, Tennessee. Look at Tennessee. Miss Castro, superstar in Phoenix, Arizona. Miss Marcia Carter, what a wonderful lady she is out there in Fresno. Miss Zoe Duffy, part of the Bakers organization, thank you. Mr. Peon, thank you so much, sir. I think I pronounced it P-E-O-N. Thank you. Miss Perry, part of the bakery organization. Miss Tracy Gilmore, part of the bakery organization. Miss Natasha Ismail, one of our regional directors out of Fresno. Mr. Marvin Carter, one of our regional directors out of Fresno. Celia, thank you so much for joining. Mr. Carter in San Diego, thank you for joining us. Mr. David Wright, thank you so much. Where's my friend, Mr. Bill Bailey? Is he out there? Miss Patricia, Pat Robinson, there you go, in Oakland, there you go. All right, all right, all right. Mr. Ismael, ¿qué pasó, señor? Ah, muy bien. All right, who else we got on here? Let me see. Okay, Mr. All right, Miss Passion, okay. Miss Walker, okay. My Lord. Ah, Miss Eileen, good seeing you, young lady, out in San Diego area. Did I say, yeah, Mr. David Wright, I got him, I got her, got her, got her. Oh, Miss Jones, part of the crew out in South Carolina. Miss Dominic Young out in Nashville, Tennessee, thank you so much. Miss Angelina, thank you so much, out of Fresno, excuse me. Miss Natasha, thank you so much. And Miss Natalie, thank you so much. I already said Miss Ismail. Mr. Winston, Jonathan Herbert, thank you for joining. Mr. Mills, thank you. Miss Perla Panal, thank you for joining us. And Diana Dalton, thank you for joining us. Man, we got a luscious group of people. Did I see Mr. Swallow? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Out of Sacramento, California, IA. Man, what a beautiful group of people here. Mr. Tasha Ismail, there she is. Miss Carol Baker. My God, we got a great call lined up today. Let's see how many folks are on here before I get into the commercial of everything. Okay. Well, thank you all for joining. Tonight at 6 o'clock p.m. at 6, I'll be back here doing a 1 through 10 presentation. Bring your guests. You come back and watch me read the presentation. That's right. I just read it, and we keep it real simple, and then we do a quick start training right after that. So if you got anybody doing a presentation today, get them back on it tonight. And we'll do a 1 through 10. I'll be doing the 1 through 10 to help you out with it. And then tomorrow, I'll be doing part 2 of the attributes of a good leader, attributes of a good leader. And then on Thursday, my friend, you write this down, Mr. Jordan Adlam will be back with us. Mr. Jordan Adler, the author of Beach Money, and Better Than Beach Money, will be back with me Thursday. He was just with Mr. Eric Worre, just yesterday, the day before yesterday, they were together. Eric Worre with GoPro, and also Beach Money, Mr. Jordan Allen. So, man, we got some great people lined up this week. And then on Thursday, I say Jordan Allen, and then on Friday, Mr. Brian Baker will be coming with a great message. I'm sure of it. So, without further ado, folks, we got a great call. One other announcement. Friday night happy hour. Oh my goodness. How many of you guys like last Friday night happy hour? You wait till this Friday night when I took you guys on a trip around the world on things I've done. Well, this coming happy hour, I'm going to give you a little tidbit. Shh, don't tell nobody. Okay, you ready? Shh. This Friday night happy hour is called the 15 lessons rich people teach their kids. And you want to be on here early because we're going to have, 15 lessons rich people teach their kids on this Friday night. And you don't want to miss any of that. So be on it real early. Get on there early on Friday night with your glass and whatever you're going to have. It's the 15th lessons that rich people teach their kids on Friday night. And you definitely want to take notes on this. It's going to, oh, my Lord. Well, anyway, so much for all the commercials and all the announcements. We want to thank everybody out there. But today, we asked him to come back from last week. And you know what? He's so profound. I've asked Mr. Baker and several other leaders, said, what was his topic? Harriet Tubman. See, that's the sign of a good storyteller. None of that, he stuck on this in his lane with just telling a great story. But on that, it was packed with good stories. He took it another level, which blew me away because I love the idea of what he talked about. And he went real deep into it. So without further ado, from the San Diego, California, high rise out there somewhere on the beach or the waters of the beautiful San Diego, where it's God's country. Without further ado, regional director, the one and only Mr. Julian Lewis. Good morning, sir. Let's give him all a hand. Let's give him a hand. Yes, sir. Yes,
Good morning,
sir. Yes, sir.
How are you? It's good to see you.
Man, I'm doing fine as frog hair split 5 ways and sandpaper. Pretty fine. Pretty fine.
Well, I'm glad. It is good to see you. It's good to see all of you on here this morning. And I'm really excited to be able to talk to all of you this morning. But before I do, I just want to let you know that Mr. Thomas, he's been in my life since I got started in this business. And I remember joining the business, not knowing who he was, and someone gave me a recording of him telling a few stories. And through those stories, he was talking about leadership, and it was so simple to get. And I was excited to have him. And I played him and Jim Rohn all the time in my first year in this industry, in this business. And I remember hearing about him coming out to my personal mentor's home in San Diego, California, overlooking the San Diego Bay on top of the Omni Hotel. There's a penthouse condominium, and most people don't know about that. So right above the 22nd floor where the pool is in the Omni, above that is all penthouse condos, and it overlooks the Padre Stadium and the Bay. And I remember having to get to a certain promotion to actually even be able to see him. And so I worked hard on getting there. I'd never done network marketing. And then I was excited. I was there early. We had a whiteboard right in front of the window, looking out into the bay. And it was beautiful. Mr. Thomas came in, and we all sat down. It was a handful of leaders. And he talked to us about a daily method of operation. I'll never forget that. And I thought I knew what that meant until he shared it. And it was so simple. And basically, he was saying to get used to doing a handful of things every single day that wind up becoming habit. And he lives it, he breathes it. So I want you to know something. I know sometimes some of the things seem simple, like, yeah, I know that, I get that, when Mr. Thomas says it. But I'm telling you, a lot of the reasons why he repeats it is because even though we think we get it, we don't get it. And so don't take him for granted. All right, that's all I'm saying. He's doing this every single day consistently, and I don't know anyone else at his, not just at an SVP level, but who's amassed the amount of success that he has, that is that giving in servitude to his team and other people. So Mr. Thomas, thank you so much for everything you do. I appreciate you. And all of you on here as well, because the reason why ACN is so incredible, it's not because of the compensation plan. It's not. It's not because of the services. It's because of the people who were attracted to this mission. And so I want to thank every single one of you, the leaders, for being on here. And I'm just going to give you brief background on myself, so we're not 100% complete strangers. Again, my name is Julian. Prior to getting involved with this project, I was a senior systems engineer. I was working roughly 80 to 90 hours a week at my job. I was averaging 50 to 60 flights a year, but I feel I was brainwashed to do it. And the reason why is because everyone around me said it was good. Have you ever had that feeling as a kid? You're like, this doesn't feel right. It feels like I'm a slave. This doesn't fit. But then everyone's saying, no, you should be happy. You're doing better than most. And then you feel like, oh my gosh, I should be appreciative of my slavery, right? And then you start to believe that stuff. And so I was working 80 to 90 hours a week at my job. I was averaging 50 to 60 flights a year. I was beyond busy. And I didn't realize it was such a problem until my fiance and I found out we were going to have a baby girl. And so good fortune came my way. I was open-minded at that point to take a look at other things, and ACN came my way, and I got involved. I worked really hard around the cracks of my schedule because I was so busy. But here's what happens. When you work hard consistently, you create momentum. See, what I found in this business is that, there are a lot of people, just like in life, that can work hard for a little bit of time, but they're inconsistent with it. And so as we get into the topic, what I want to share with you is the thing that separates the high performers from the average is their ability to work hard consistently. See, it's not, I worked hard yesterday. I worked hard the day before. It's working hard consistently. And so it allowed me to come home to my family. It allowed me to be the type of father that my daughter deserved. Mr. Thomas, I'll tell you, I shared this with you when it happened. My daughter, she finished up 9th grade this year, but I remember talking to you when she finished 6th grade. And when she started 6th grade, I had tears in my eyes because I left from picking her up that day, and I realized that the vision I had for taking her to middle school when she was in kindergarten came into fruition because I never let go of this dream with the business. And so it's eerie. I used to hear people in The Secret talk about it. I know Ed Milet, he talked about walking by his mansion and then actually living in that mansion too. And when we think about it, if you stay focused and work hard, all of it will happen. So what do I want to talk about today? Getting rid of the fear associated with failure. Okay? That's what we're going to be talking about. Because I want to tell you this, but I don't want you to be mad at me. I'm the messenger. So don't kill me. Don't get mad at me. You've been lied to your whole life. And we talked about that last time I was on here. But you've been lied to about what failure is. Okay? And that lie keeps you, like Miss Natasha talked about the birds, the lie keeps you from flying. All right? And what I mean is, so I want you to think about schools. So everything that usually conditions us in the way of learning is traditional school. Can we all agree this is true? Okay, so in traditional school, even from preschool all the way up through college, what are you taught about failure? You're taught that it's bad. You're taught that an F is a failing grade, and you're looked at as bad. Since failing grade is associated with failure, you're looked at like you're a failure, which is a negative word, right? All through school, you have this fear that you don't want to get an F. F stands for failure. This whole time, you run away from what you're afraid of. As adults, I need you to think about something. When have you accomplished something great running away from what you're afraid of? It never happens. So we're taught to run away from failure in our society. We're taught that in school. So all of us that become adults, we still have that kid inside us that when we feel uncomfortable, the kid pops up and takes over. So we don't want to do things that make us uncomfortable. So we'll rationalize it with our adult mind. We'll make excuses that are elaborate to our mentors, to our family, to our friends. But all these things are our coping mechanisms for our inability to deal with those things that we're afraid of. And 9 times out of 10, we're afraid of failure. Okay, so let's go back to school. I had a teacher, her name was Dr. England. She was a doctor of psychology, and she was an English teacher. In other words, she was bad. Like she knew if kids were lying. She knew, like, it was like she was a psychic, and everyone was afraid to go into her class. I didn't know what to expect. So I found out at an early age, my mom found out that I wasn't doing too well in school because I wasn't being challenged. And so immediately I tested for the AP classes, things like that. I had to go to the AP classes. I was so upset because I thought it was going to be hard. I got this teacher, Dr. England, and I was scared to death because all the kids that had 4.3 GPA averages, the smart kids, all the kids were scared to be in her class. And it was because none of the kids could keep that 4.3. They wound up usually getting a bad grade in their class. And so I was nervous. I said, these kids have been smart. They've been conditioned. I'm worried to get a bad grade in her class. She talks to the class and she says, if you're willing to truly learn, you won't get a bad grade. I'm like, what does that even mean? You know, so I found out that you actually had to learn in her class, and that the majority of the kids that had high grade point averages, she called them educated dumbbells. Okay, I need you to understand this. Her goal, she told me and a few others, was to reach kids before their fate was sealed as educated dumbbells through college and into their jobs. And she said, the problem is the majority of the kids that we praise never learn. They're afraid to fail, so they cheat. And I said, oh, these kids are getting 4.3s because they cheat. And she said, not the way you think. She said, they don't learn. They memorize and regurgitate. And then the moment they throw it up, it's gone. Because they never learn to learn. It's like never using your legs. Your legs are too weak for your body to stand on. And she said, that's the majority of the group. Now, I graduated high school in 1998. So since then, it's gotten even worse. But I need you to think about that because that's what we were taught. So now here it is. You're afraid to fail. You've never learned how to learn. And then you get into network marketing where you have to understand what failure really is. And then you have to learn how to learn. You're an adult. You feel you've made it. You put those things together, network marketing in our mind becomes hard. But I'm here to tell you that it isn't, and I'm going to explain why. Okay? So when it comes to learning and failing, look at everything that you know scientifically about failure. Failure is good. If you look at the body, if you're building a muscle, the only way that you can build a muscle, the only way the muscle gets to the next level is that if you constantly take it to what? Failure. You have to constantly take it to failure. People that go and they try to build their bodies, if they're not constantly taking it to failure, they look the same for 5 years. How many of you gone to the gym and you've seen a guy that's in there or a gal that's in there and they're there every single day. They're there Monday through Friday. They're there in the beginning. They're there for 2 hours, maybe an hour, but every day, every year, they look the same. Please don't be mad at me right now. Mr. Thomas, don't be mad at me. But there are some people that plug into the call every single day for the last 2 years. But their business physique still looks the same. It's because You're afraid to push to failure. And I want to tell you, it's not a bad thing. People call failure mistakes. They're not the same word. Failure is understanding. Do you know what practice is? Practice is controlled failure. Practice is controlled failure. It's taking something to failure over and over again. We've heard repetition is the mother of learning, but if you're afraid to fail, you'll never get to the next level. So you got to start embracing failure as something that's incredible. You got to realize, see, when I talk about working out, my goal, I was scared to death to do this new workout on Saturday, but I realized I got excited because I had an opportunity to fail. Because since I didn't know how far I had to take it, I went all out and I failed over and over again. But because of that failure on Saturday, Monday starting an even bigger workout, I was stronger on Monday because I decided to not be afraid to fail on Saturday. And every single time that you do it in your business, you level up. So we talked about working out. Well, let's talk about this business. See, what I realize is that when you're not afraid to fail, your brain starts triggering. You start to understand things that you didn't. I heard David Lowe talk about sending out videos. And so we decided to send out videos. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to send out X amount of videos per day. And I'm human. And so old habits creep in with me just like anybody else. But I did it because I wanted to share it with all of you so that you could understand. See, when I went to send out the videos, all of a sudden, my brain clicked in with a conversation. And everyone does this. And so this is how it looks. I'm ready to send it out. You guys know on Instagram and Facebook, you have a picture, right? Especially on Instagram. There's a picture, but it's never just a picture. There's a picture and then there's a caption. And the caption says something associated with the picture. In other words, there's a story. So there's a picture and then there's a story. So I want you to think about my list like it's your list. Every single person on that list was like looking at a picture and a caption. So I got exhausted looking at the list because I wasn't looking at the list. I was looking at a list and I was having a conversation about the caption of the person that I was going to contact. And that conversation back and forth with each person that I was going to call meant that even though I had all day to send out 10 videos, I only sent out 6 because you would think I could just go through the list and just send them out. But I was afraid of the conversation that went along with that name. And because I was afraid of failure, that stopped me from doing what I needed to do. And here's what's so crazy about that. If you never do what you need to do, your brain doesn't click in and show you the path you need to take to make it more efficient. See, oftentimes I hear people ask Mr. Thomas, how would you do this? I have people in my team that say, Mr. Lewis, what script would you use for this? What would you say for that? And I'm here to tell you that every single script, everything that Mr. Thomas says, everything that we say is because we decided to just jump, hurt ourselves in the process, say, ow, that hurt. I'm not jumping that way next time. And as you do this over and over again, you're able to know what to say. See, when I was sending the video out at first, I said something a little different. It wasn't getting me the results that I needed. Now I started sending the video out while thinking, and then all of a sudden I say, oh my gosh, if I just change this little word, I'm going to get a better result. And so over the time of practicing that, your conversation becomes better. You learn how to communicate because you're not afraid to fail. And here's why that's so great. Guys, you only need a handful of people to win. We only need a handful. How many of you have ever said when you saw, if you joined before Natasha did, and you saw her energy, you saw her fight, you saw her tenacity, how many of you, be honest, said, dang, I hope I can find a Natasha one day. Look at you. Every one of you are saying this. But you want to know something that's so crazy? There are so many people on here that you believe that about. You're like, wow, I wish I could find a Bill Bailey. He's signing up people every single week. I wish I could find a Chris King. He's a leader. He's there for his team day in and day out. You know, the truth is, every single one of you can be just like those people, because none of them were like that necessarily in the business. You know what? I talked to Natasha. I was nodding my head when she was doing the training last week, because I remember being at the Saturday training I remember that after my father passed. I remember in my mind thinking about what leaders do. I remember knowing that I had a responsibility to my team. See, these are things that are choices. Those aren't magical attributes of a leader. Those are choices based on morals. Do you do what you say you're going to do? Every single one of you can push past the fear of failure, especially if you're a parent, because being a parent doesn't come with a manual. And so they're here. You have to figure this out, and there's no one that's going to do it for you. And you're looking at this little person that needs you, and you're like, crap, they don't know that I screwed up a lot in my life. They're looking at you like you're it. So you got to figure it out. My question to you is, when will you start looking at yourself like you look at that baby? You need you to figure it out. You're worth it. And when you get into a routine of realizing there's no physical pain attached to the things we're afraid of in ACN, this thing becomes magical. See, working out means that I got to go through pain for at least an hour every single day. But you know what? I don't look at it as pain. Write this down. Pain equals payment. I'm going to say that again. Pain equals payment. I'll prove it to you. Listen, I didn't come here. I'm not a theologian. I'm not the expert on the Bible, but the gift that God gave me is the ability to see things that are common and things that are the same as an observer. And I need you to understand this. See, sacrifice is pain. Sacrifice is pain. God gave his only son. Pain is what? Payment. Payment. God created the rules. God gave his only son. Pain is payment. Jesus became the sacrificial lamb. Pain is payment. Every story that you've seen in the Bible deals with sacrifice connected to something important to an individual. It's payment. So sacrifice is the special pain that's necessary for the universe to give you what you want. At the end of the day, there's no new life in this world without pain. It's called labor pains. The sacrifice is the pain to create new life, which is the person that you bring into this world. There's no new body physically without pain. No pain, no what? Gain. Pain is the sacrifice. Pain is the payment. You don't level up without it. You got to be able to feel it. It's the same thing in ACN. You're going to do something that's uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is the pain. The pain is the payment necessary for you to create the new result. But here's what I love about pain. When you decide to negotiate terms with your mind and accept that it may be a little painful, but you're going to do it anyway, the reward is usually 10 times greater than the pain. So the pain that I take in an hour of working out gives me 23 hours of my body feeling great throughout the day. My question to you is, if the pain of doing the 10 videos a day, 20 videos, 50 videos, whatever you want to do, if that only takes 5 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours, would the pain of doing that, would the payment of having financial freedom be worth it? See, you got to look at what's important. See, because if you understand and you tell your brain that the pain of doing this is worth, the payment is worth what you get, then there is no more argument about doing it anymore. Because you already realize, see, you eliminate what we talked about in the beginning. Instead of running from failure, now you're running towards it because you understand that the pain is necessary as payment to get the reward. And so when you realize it, instead of trying to figure out a way to cheat it, you accept it. You appreciate it because you see it as something that is used as a tool to develop you into the person you need to be to attract the wealth into your life. Until you accept pain and negotiate terms with your brain to deal with it, you won't get to the next level in life. And I'm not just talking about ACN, I'm talking about in every aspect in your life. Spiritually, I'm talking about with your family, I'm talking about in your finances. If you just buy whatever you want, finances are zero or even negative. Is this true? So you have to understand that there is a responsibility that comes with freedom. But when you are mature enough to negotiate terms to deal with that pain, you live the lifestyle of a free man. Mr. Thomas lives a lifestyle of a free man. Does he have to? This is going to mess you up. Does he have to do what he does on this conference call every day? I already see the no's. Wait. Does he have to work with people? How many people come onto the call and say, listen, Mr. Thomas mentors me. We talk on a weekly basis. I'm not in his money. That part. How many times have you heard I'm not in his money? But he does it anyway, because he's learned a long time ago that these types of payments allow him to receive freedom as a man in this country. Service to many leads to greatness. And I'm telling you guys, the moment you decide to accept that pain is okay, and pain is the failure part you run from, and you decide to run towards it, you're going to realize that the pain you were running from was this small. And that's why every SVP says, if I knew what I know now, I would have worked 10 times harder and gotten here faster. So, Mr. Thomas, I appreciate you allowing me to get on here and speak to everyone. I hope you run towards the pain so that you can see how small it really is and get to the next level, because every one of you deserve a great lifestyle. So God bless all of you. Thank you.
Wow. Practice is control failure. Whoo! Man, I had to write that one down. Pain equals payment. Man, that was wow. This has been amazing. This has been amazing. Get rid of the fear. It will help you. Wow. Man, I tell you what, wow. We've got doctors in surgery. Miss Perla Banal just texted us, the doctor, great call. One of the doctors in surgery that she's at the hospital is commenting on how great this call was, sir. See, this is the whole idea of the call is touching lives and telling stories. And I was showing my leaders earlier, all we are is professional storytellers. The more stories, Run to pain to achieve greatness. Amen, Miss Alyssa Vaughn. Thank you so much. Mr. Julian Lewis, you just, Miss Natasha Hart. See, that's what I'm talking about, connecting stories. And all he did was tell story after story of the subject of pain and getting things done and getting rid of the fear. And I tell you what, getting rid of the fear was a subject, but it dealt with the pain, run into the pain, and you'll get her done. And man, I just had flashbacks. One of my mentors in relationship to share with me, when you catch a fish, if the fish only swam to the hook, it'd come right out of his mouth, and you release the pain. And that's what you just talked about. Swim towards what you fear, and watch the fear just diminish. Man, that was powerful, Mr. Lewis. Wow, can we show him some love? Wow, my God, I took a note after note. Man, that was amazing. Whoo, Lord have mercy. Hey, by the way, Mr. Bill Bailey, I know you jumped on there late. That young man is always bringing IBOs every week in his business and customers. So, Mr. Bill Bailey, we thank you. We had a couple of our dignitaries jump on late. Miss Evelyn Phipps, thank you so much for Fresno jumping on late. Mr. Brian Baker got on here a little later on. Thank you so much. Miss Darlene Evans and Mr. Curtis Evans, South Carolina, thank you so much. Miss Rose Guerrero and Chris King, thank you so much for jumping on. We got on here a little late. And I always want to thank Mr. Julian Lewis. Can we